Always a good thing. All right, cool. You guys ready?
Recording.
I am recording.
Fantastic. And does anybody happen to know what number it is?
597.
Nice.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, 3 more.
I know, we need to have a
We're
big
thinking
Two
about
more
it.
until
We're
the
thinking about it.
third.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's Thursday, March 8th, International Women's Day. And this right here is iMore Show number 597. We are going to talk about all kinds of things about security, supplier responsibility, whether or not it's okay for MoviePass apps to track you as you go to the movies in exchange for super cheap tickets, as well as fun things like anniversaries that have just come up. Wonderful, wonderful things. First up on this lovely podcast, and joining me is iMore Assistant Managing Editor Lori Gill. Hi, Lori. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Rockin'. Well, mostly rockin'.
Oh, we got to talk about that a little bit.
I don't know if we do. It's embarrassing.
For the podcast listeners, not watchers, Serenity just held her hand up and has a splint covering one of her fingers.
A minor skate park accident. Minor. Just tiny. It's cool. Instead of talking about that, let's introduce our other guest. It's iMore Senior Editor, Micah Sargent. Hello, Micah.
Hi. I'm happy to be here with 2 inspiring women on International Women's Day. So thank you for having me along with you.
Yeah. Why don't we, you know what, I had this later on, but why don't we just kick the podcast off and talk a little bit about International Women's Day, because I think it's pretty cool. It, as the name might suggest, it truly is an international pseudo holiday. So people aren't taking time off necessarily. But a lot of businesses, Apple included, have done some nice things to honor the women that work for them, as well as honor women in general for all of the stuff that they're doing. Barbie came out with a crazy line in advance of International Women's Day, which includes a Chloe Kim skateboard or a snowboarding Barbie, which is delightful. And I've seen the internet go crazy about it, so I just feel like it's probably worth a mention. But what I was really excited about personally is that Apple has been taking certain events to do exercise challenges with, and International Women's Day ends up being one of those events where it's giving you a challenge to double your move goal. And I personally, as somebody who found a lot of who I was by joining sport and by playing roller derby, I really appreciate this, and I think it's really, I don't know, it's not just like go out and walk for 30 minutes. It's like, no, be better. Do double what your goals are. You have, your sky's the limit kind of thing. I don't know. It's a nice touch. And I appreciate it.
Can you talk a little bit about this? So I saw a little bit of hubbub on the social medias about it being kind of a big deal and maybe even a bad thing that Apple, at least that's kind of the kind of the way it was posited by some people. Can you explain what the traditional event challenges that Apple does for the Apple Watch and compare it to this particular one for the International Women's Day?
Yeah, well, so for the first thing, it's not just holidays that Apple's been doing this on. Like the first one that they ever did, I think, was a Thanksgiving challenge. But they've also done Arbor Day challenges. They've done President's Day challenges. They've done international holidays in China and Japan that don't appear in the United States or Canada. They've done a bunch of like both national holidays and these more slightly obscure things that are in some way tied to fitness. I guess President's Day isn't really tied to fitness, but the thought being, it's like if you're in
presidents are not fit, but
yeah. Well, so I don't know. I like me personally. I feel like any way that they can get people to go out and use their muscles and explore the world around them is a good thing. And it's not. I don't know. I feel like it would actually be more insulting if it was like, jog for 15 minutes.
So the other challenges, are they double your move, or are they kind of like less? Are they
like go for a walk, I think was one.
Yeah, some of them are easy, some of them are hard. The Thanksgiving one, which is the first one they did, was pretty simple, which was just like go for a 5K walk, basically. Mm-hmm. Other ones are fill your exercise ring. One of the more recent ones, which I think was the January Fit Challenge, was fill your exercise ring every day for a full week. There have been other ones which is like stand every day for a full week or fill all of your rings for a full week. That one was awful.
The other one was use your Apple Watch to plant a tree.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that wasn't it.
that would have been cool though. Yeah, Arbor Day was like go on a hike or something like that.
Okay, so they all kind of match up with something relating to the event, or maybe they don't match up specifically. They're just giving you a chance to go out and exercise. I was actually just wondering why there was any kind of hubbub at all, because I don't think doubling your move goal, doubling your exercise goal, I'm a woman. It doesn't sound that hard to me. It doesn't sound like that's a big deal. So I think from my perspective, I don't understand why there would be anyone would take issue with this particular challenge versus any other than the polarizing gender differences that we're dealing with constantly.
The general problems.
Right.
I can see it as, the fun thing about these challenges is you get a little token afterward in your Move app.
Sticker.
Your little sticker, your little trophy. And for folks who want to celebrate the day, and it's like, well, it's come a little bit easier in the past, and now this one is more difficult. But man, I really like it. I'm going to miss out on having this awesome sticker, this awesome little trophy to have in my little trophy cabinet. And so I get that. And one specific person who I think I've talked about before, and he was in the Apple Watch movie, the Apple Watch advertisement, is Kyle Gray, and he's got like a gigantic move goal. And so whenever he was talking about getting this, he's like, it actually is going to be kind of difficult for me to be able to do it. Like, to double his move goal is no small feat. But for me, on the other hand, like, it's not a hard thing to do. So I think it depends on sort of how important digital trinkets are to you in one sense. And also, sort of any weird messaging that unintentionally or otherwise came with, oh, there it is. Sorry. Unintentionally
I do understand those folks because it's obviously you want your move goals to be challenging and based on your current activity needs. But the other thing is, it's really easy to change your move goal for the day.
That was going to be my question. Can you sort of cheat the system a little and lower your move
absolutely
goal? So
like, if you're on the activity, if you're on the activity app, and good how-to for anybody, if you force press, you can change your move goal and change it for the day. You can change it for the week at any point. So if you're feeling like, oh, this is too low, or, oh my God, why do I have a 1,300 move goal?
I got to burn 7,000 calories.
Right. Yeah. That's good to know. It really doesn't seem like it's any different than any of the other challenges. It sounds like Apple is constantly giving new and different challenges for each event that it has a new challenge for, and it meant nothing and implied nothing by doubling. Is it doubling your move and exercise goal, or just
just your move? Okay. You can't actually double I guess you can double your exercise goal, but it's not counted the way that move goal is counted.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I could double my move goal just by walking to the grocery store and back, because my move goal is always set so low.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I do not exercise.
You're like, I like being lazy. I don't know. I feel like it's a non-issue, but of course everybody is entitled to their opinions.
Yeah, it actually sounds like a really great. I'm sorry to all of the women in the world. I have never heard of International Women's Day. It was the Apple Watch challenge that brought it to light for me. So I think that's a huge thing to know, that there's probably a lot of other women out there, men and women out there, that have never heard of this special day to celebrate women. And thanks to the Apple Watch challenge, we're now kind of more aware of it than we were before. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great. And I also really, as a side note, this is not an Apple Watch related thing, but going on Twitter today, it's been really awesome. I've been seeing a lot of friends and people I follow highlighting awesome women that they too follow. And I have discovered so many interesting writers because of this. And I love that. Like, I love highlighting voices that I don't otherwise hear from. Because it's how we become more well-read. It's how we become a better society.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's moving right along and talking perhaps about societies that really care about its members, maybe a little too much. Lori, why don't we talk about some of the security related things that we've been hearing this week?
Okay, let's start with Facebook. The Wall Street Journal today, Joanna Stern wrote a very detailed research article about, so I think we've all had this experience. Let me tell you a quick rundown of something that literally happened to me. My mom was visiting. She was looking up a recipe that she wanted to make for us for dinner. And she said to me, she didn't type anything, and she said to me, I need to get some apple cider vinegar at the store. It was something she needed for her recipe. Not even an hour later, an advertisement for apple cider vinegar popped up on her Facebook feed. And her and I had this discussion about how that's really weird, that how could they be listening? I had already read that Facebook came out and they said, we're not listening to you to try to advertise to you. When we do use the microphone, it's to help you search for something or to, post your videos or things like that. It's listens for keywords that have to do specifically with using the Facebook app. So I still really struggled with how it was that my mom didn't type in anything about apple cider vinegar, but still got an advertisement for something that she spoke to me directly face to face. So Joanna Stern's article actually kind of sort of explains that, but also goes into a lot of detail about all of the things that Facebook is doing to track us. And what it kind of comes down to is there's all these companies that are tracking all of our data, where we move, what we purchase using loyalty cards, all that kind of stuff. It's all kind of like brought together under this one big roof. Facebook kind of uses this umbrella of all this data that others are collecting and they're sharing with Facebook, and it uses it to help you find something that you're interested in. So, for example, my mom searched for a recipe online. So that data was gleaned and provided to Facebook. Why the advertisement specifically was for apple cider vinegar still makes me call into question whether or not it was listening to what she said. But the idea is that through all of this information that's being gleaned about us when we use the internet, when we go around to different locations, when we purchase things at the store, it's all kind of saying, this is what a person of this age in this location that just did this search is probably going to go buy, and then it will advertise that to you. So they're not necessarily listening to us, but they are using a lot of our information to advertise to us. Some of the things that Joanna recommends has to do with you turn off your microphone. This is how I feel about it. We rarely use our microphones when we're using the Facebook app, so just disable it and then enable it when you need to use it for your story, your today's story or something like that. And then just disable it again. It's really easy. Just leave it off. Just don't worry about it and leave it off. But she also recommends turning off location tracking. There's actually a setting inside the Facebook app, not your phone. So if you on your iPhone have location tracking disabled, Facebook won't track any of it. They can't. But if you have it enabled, you can kind of pick and choose what you want Facebook to track you with. And one of them, it's for location history. So this is where a lot of that data tracking and advertising comes in. What will happen is if you have location tracking enabled at all, location history is storing that information. And this is where these data collectors are kind of like gleaning all this information and figuring out how to advertise to you. So if you want to leave location tracking on so that you can kind of post your check-in, you can remove Facebook's ability to keep that history. You can turn a switch off. It's in the settings section in Facebook under location. You can also delete your past location history, which is a little harder to find, but it's delete under your activity log. So in your Facebook app, you go when you tap the settings in your Facebook app, you get the option. Do you want to look up your system settings, or there's a couple other, one of them is your activity log. So you go under your activity log and then you delete your location tracking from that section. It's a little bit complicated, but you can get through it. but what, for me, what it kind of brought to light, it also relates to the MoviePass revelation that whether they are or not at this moment, MoviePass plans to track our data before we leave our house to go to a movie, and after we leave the movie to our next location. When I was doing research about MoviePass, because I had that same, it's too good to be true. They have to be doing something to make money off of me, to provide me. I can go to 30 movies in 30 days and only pay $10 a month for it. They have to be doing something to get something from me in return. And I did learn that the plan for MoviePass, one of their biggest money makers, is going to be selling our data. So I thought, okay, well, I'm making that choice. I want to watch movies for, a bunch of movies for $10 a month. In exchange for that, I will provide MoviePass my data, similar to the way we use Facebook. We don't think much about what they're doing with it, but we're giving away all of our data so that we can talk to friends on Facebook. I'm giving away all of my data so that I can go to the movies for $10 a month for as many movies as I can see. So that's kind of the world that we live in right now. And maybe the two of you can kind of talk about that with me, about what you feel is okay to give away your privacy, essentially, to give away your personal data in exchange for something. Where's the line that you won't cross? Will you do it for Facebook but not for MoviePass? Or will you do it for Twitter but not for MoviePass? Where do you feel that there's a line being drawn that you can't pass, that you think it's too much privacy giving away? Or is it less about what you're giving away and more about transparency of knowing that it's being given away or taken from us?
Those are both incredible questions that I think are important to ask. I think that it's both, like, transparency is important. If you get an app, Vero, that social media app that ended up could potentially be sketchy, possibly, like, the reason that I think ended up being such a big deal, and also the app, and I can't think of what it is now, but there was an app a while back that it ended up like keeping your photos or something like that, even though it didn't seem like it was going to.
It was Me something.
Yeah, the face. Yeah, that face weirdness app. Those apps, like, the reason that they took off in a negative light is because the transparency wasn't there, because those clauses, like, were hidden, or there was something about it that wasn't being communicated to the user. And that's, like, if you're hiding it, then that's going to make me suspicious. If you come out and say, like, hey, this is what we use your data for, and this is exactly what these terms mean, then even if I don't take the time to read it, like, knowing that it's there and that it's out in the open means that you have some level of, like, being okay with doing whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that that's important. But aside from that, to answer your other question, I think it depends on, for me at least, it depends oftentimes on the company. Do I feel comfortable with this company? Okay, so if I am given, I live in a world where we trade our data for services. With that as a given, then I have to ask myself, what companies do I want to make that concession for? Or what services do I want to make that concession for? And when it comes to companies, like, I know Amazon collects, every time I say the wake word and then I say the thing afterward, that is put into, off into their servers, and they use that to improve ALEXA and all of that jazz. I know that that's a thing, and I also know I can go in and delete those if I want to, but I'm okay because Amazon is such a big company and is the backbone of so much of the web anyway. I know that their security is an incredibly important thing, and, like, you don't easily hack Amazon and, like, get my voice print or whatever. Same thing goes for Apple. I always send my metrics about Apple Health, send my metrics about my use of, like, all of those are on for Apple TV, for HomePod. When I was using an airport device, I always sent that data off because I knew it helped Apple make a better product, and I trusted Apple with my data. So I think in many cases, it's, do I trust this company with my data? And I can sort of move the scale on those things based on what data I'm handing over. If I'm playing with some stupid app that is going to keep my photo after I'm done with it, but I get to have a photo where I've got like frog eyes or something, I'm okay with that. Like, this is a photo that I've sent. I'm okay with them having my face. No big deal. Like, the world has my face anyway because I post on Twitter and Instagram and things like that. But if I was like to have a banking app or something like that, then I'm going to pay more attention to those things, and that privacy and that data becomes even more important. So basically, don't be sketchy and protect my data, and we don't have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent. I think that it, like Micah said, it really depends on who the person is collecting the data, or who the company is that's collecting the data. Because yes, at a certain point, like, yeah, Amazon is going to get a fair amount of data from the Echo products, and that's just how it's going to be. And it's the question of, well, am I okay with that, or do I want to, one thing I do with my Sonos is I have it on mute unless I'm specifically in the kitchen and working on things, just because it makes me feel a little bit better. But the problem with an app like Me Too is that and MoviePass, for example, is like, it's not just about how that company is going to use that data. It's if that company has that data, that company can then sell that data. And you give Vero's a great example of a company where it's like, you don't know the background of these people. And for all their, their promises of, oh, we want this to be based around you and your social sharing, there's nothing that says that they can't collect all of that data and then immediately sell it to Facebook, or sell it to the Russian mob, sell it to China, sell it back to the US government. Like, there's all kinds of, or just another company who wants to scrape your ads and sell you apple cider, right? Or cider vinegar. That's where I start getting a little bit sketchy on this, where I'm like, I agree with you, Lori, that like, for cheap movie tickets, it's not a problem. I mean, it's basically the next iteration of, I don't know if you two ever had this, but growing up in LA, you'd stand outside of a movie theater and there would be people handing out basically free screenings. And you could go to a screening of a movie that was coming out, 6 months from now, and it's an audience screening, right? It's a reaction screening, but in return you had to fill out like this detailed questionnaire, not only about what you thought about the movie, but you gave your name and your age and your address and like all of the, like, everything short of your social security number. And at the time you're like, free movies, like, I get to see this movie 6 months before everybody else. But in retrospect, I look back at that and I'm like, did I really need, Warner Brothers to know my address? Because God knows what Warner Brothers does with my address. Like, where is it going? And I feel the same way about these third-party apps, where I'm just like, I don't trust that MoviePass, and by association, I think AMC is behind it. There are a couple of different.
No, absolutely not.
Actually,
AMC and MoviePass are actually fighting with each other right now. It's
because AMC has the trademark. That's why, because AMC also has a product called MoviePass.
Yeah. They have their own version of it, and actually, I think more of the movie companies are trying their own version of it too. So
which makes sense. But but that's the point. Is like, I don't know what MoviePass is going to do with my data. Mm-hmm. So I feel a whole lot like, even though I'm like, free movies, the downside, I'm like, but I'm just giving them all my location data, and there's nothing in writing that says that they're not going to sell this to somebody else. Like, I wouldn't mind terribly if it was just, okay, you're getting this data, but no one else is getting this data, and that's okay. Whereas we see, stuff like Strava a few months ago, where it's like, yeah, we knew that we were giving all of our map locations to Strava, and then you find out that you're mapping a U.S. Navy base. That's good. It's great.
So then, in that regard, Serenity, if, say, Century Theaters had their own version of a $10 a month subscription, and it more or less had the same features and the same terms and services as MoviePass, do you think you feel more comfortable because you know that Century is an established organization, probably they have a lot more to lose if they do something bad with our information and data, whereas MoviePass is so new that like they're not established enough for us to know for sure what they've got going on in the back doors? Is it
I think it's I still would not like I wouldn't even trust AMC theaters. I wouldn't trust Cinemark. I wouldn't trust Century. There's just not unless it's explicitly stated we use this data to help, internally or to help, partner up with the right, give you the right advertisements before your show, for instance. If we know that like 60% of people who go to this movie go to this bar afterwards, then we can ask this bar to advertise on our big screen. I'm like, I don't mind that. But there needs to be an explicit clause that's basically like this data gets trashed if we ever sell ourselves to a different company, or we just can't sell your data anywhere to anyone. And it's like that's my sticking point, quite honestly. If I'm going to use a service where I'm giving you my data, it better stay with that service or get destroyed.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely. That also brings me to the Amazon taking pictures of your front door story. These all have just come out in the past week. So it's so funny that they're all kind of lining up together. The idea of taking a picture of your front door is very less privacy invading. It really is. I mean, the person delivering the package is looking at your front door, and it's also not taking pictures of your address or things inside. It's the picture. So this did happen to me about 2 weeks ago. The picture is of the package that's been delivered and where it's sitting on your front porch or wherever it's been delivered. So in my case, the picture showed just the door, the bottom of the door frame of the front door itself, and a mat and the box that was sitting on top of the mat. So it doesn't expose very much. If Amazon now knows what my front door looks like, which there's a story about that, it wasn't my front door. It's who cares? Because, people come to my house every day and they see my front door when they're delivering packages. So to me, that small snippet of my front door is not an invasion of my privacy.
They already have your address. Like that's the bigger thing. If it was like, okay, someone has my door, the way that my door looks now, that's scary. It's like, well, but you gave me your address because you wanted your package.
Right. It's really, to me, there's not really much of a privacy issue here. It feels a little creepy because honestly, so what happened was I had ordered a package from Amazon and it wasn't delivered when it was supposed to. So I went on the, the website to track my package and find out what happened. It said it had been delivered. I immediately freaked out because I live on a busy street and it's very likely that people will come steal things off my porch if I'm not there to take the package as soon as it's been delivered. So I was worried that somebody had come by and not knocked on the door to let me know that the package was there, because there was definitely no package at my front door.
It's like, where's the package?
Yeah. And then there was a picture. So I almost felt both relief and twice as scared because there was evidence that the package had been, because I also thought they didn't deliver the package. I was home all day. I would have heard them walk up on my front porch. So clearly this is wrong. But then seeing the picture, that confirmed that the package was indeed delivered. But it also confirmed that the package was not sitting on my front porch. So it was actually a huge relief to know that there's evidence that this was not delivered to my address. So I don't have to pay any kind of charges for it not, for it getting lost, because the delivery driver clearly delivered it to the front door, to the wrong door. I also, because I didn't want to have to deal with the situation. So what I did is I took a quick look at that picture that was of the package sitting on a front door with a mat. And I, kind of got my brain looking at what it was. And I went outside and I looked around at all my neighbors' front doors. And sure enough, my neighbor across the street had that same mat. She's a friend of mine, thank goodness. So it was really easy for me. I called her up and I said, hey, did you get a package delivered to your house that was for me? Yep, she had. She brought it over to me. It was fine. Everything worked out. In my particular case, it was like the perfect scenario of having this picture taken. I was able to tell immediately what door it was delivered to. And I was lucky enough that it was a friend of mine. So it was really easy for me to get it back. So it's creepy that delivery drivers are taking pictures of your packages. But in my case, it was such a satisfying conclusion to that situation that I will please take a picture of my front door when you deliver a package, because that makes me just feel like I'm able to track down the situation better.
Yeah. And I think it's a nice idea in theory. My concern goes where photo, right? Where it's like, I love the idea of being able, just like I like the Ring doorbell idea, right? Where it's like, okay, I know that this person came at this point and didn't ring my doorbell. And thus I know that they should have, this package, oh, we tried you at home, is complete bullshit. But yeah, I just like to see more transparency from companies and say, hey, this is exactly what we do with our data. And actually, go ahead, Micah.
I was just going to say, one of the, I absolutely love this idea. I think that the opportunity to, again, confirm that it was delivered somewhere else is so nice. The United States Postal Service in certain places, including mine, and I think they may have rolled it out by now, but it was just originally in certain places. They have a really nice service called Informed Delivery, where every morning I get an email that says, hey, because their systems are already, as it's sorting mail, it takes a photo of it scans the mail so that it can figure out where it's supposed to go. And so because that data is already available, they can send you a scan of all the mail that you're going to get today so that you can check that against what gets put in your mailbox. And there's a little button right there that says, I didn't get this mail piece if for some reason it didn't get delivered. And the reason that I set this up at first was because we had a stint of time where some ne'er-do-well was going to people's mailboxes and taking birthday cards and things like that. And it was right before we had moved in, and someone had invited us to Nextdoor, which I ended up getting rid of because it just made me paranoid. But for a while there, I was reading through it, and there were people who were confirming yeah, we had ours stolen too. So once I saw that from USPS, I was like, heck yeah, I'm signing up for that. And I've kept it around because it's nice, to know this is super lazy of me, but do I need to grab the mail today? Is there anything super important, or can I wait to, go to the mailbox and get everything? So oftentimes I'll just do that at the end of the week, because the mailbox is on the side to where whenever I'm driving away to the store or something, I'd have to back up to get to it, because we live on a cul-de-sac. And so I just usually sort of ignore it throughout the week unless I see something that comes through Informed Delivery that's super important. So I like these services that just, it's essentially yeah, it's just a nice peace of mind to know sort of when your package is delivered, if it's delivered, and again, to confirm, because I actually had someone, not here, but in the last place that I lived, when we lived in Columbia, the delivery driver delivered the package to 4801 instead of 4901 was our address. And it didn't say that anywhere, of course. It said it was delivered. And so I went outside. I was like, I saw the delivery truck earlier today. And it was like a bulk purchase of paper towels. So it was very easy for me to see this giant box on 4801. But I didn't know the people. And I was like, I'm not just going to walk up to someone's house and just snatch that package and walk away with it. So I went to the door and I knocked on it. And the person wouldn't open their door. I was like, oh man, this is weird. So they talked to me through the door, what do you want? I said, hey, I'm sorry to bug you, but this is my package. Is it okay if I go ahead and take it away? I just didn't want to walk up to your stoop and take it away. They're like, oh yeah, that's fine. And then that, I didn't hear anything else from them, but I got my package and I left. So I'm happy that I saw it before it went inside the house, where they clearly did not want to open their door for me. But anyway, so these sorts of things are nice, I think. But again, yeah, the privacy concerns are there. But for the company that already has my address, as I was telling Lori, if they have my door, the look of the bottom of my door or something too, then okay. Yeah, I've already given you my address. You know where I live, and also all of my shopping habits, because it's where I buy everything. But certainly don't hand those away. keep hold of them, please, or get rid of them.
I don't know if Amazon started posting the picture of my front door to Instagram, I don't think I'd care, because it's not showing anything. It's just, well, I guess I wouldn't want my address on there, but the point is that it's a very close
your house number.
Yeah. It's a really close-up shot that only shows a
Yeah.
very small area of where it's taking a picture. It's not a wide shot of your whole front door and your windows and your, you know, it's really
But
close down.
is the photo geotagged? And do they properly scrape it?
That I don't know. Actually, I wonder if there's a way to check on that one. That I'll have to look into that.
So that's again, I'm just thinking about like all of the negative things. It's weird though, Micah. I actually feel more comfortable signing up for something like informed delivery because it's all handled through inside the USPS, right?
Yeah, it's a system that they already have in place. Yeah,
exactly. It's a system they already have in place. They're just telling you in advance what's coming. Whereas it's not really, again, it's not
through third parties or anything like that. Like, it's at their distribution centers. They were like, hey, we already have photos of these because we scanned them to figure out where it's supposed to go. Why not share them with the people who are getting the mail? And I think it's a brilliant idea. And I'm so glad that, because like the USPS is not something that I associate with innovation and like technological know-how, but that service is a really awesome service to where every day I can go through and say, okay, these are the mail pieces that are going to be coming to me today. And I can say I didn't get that one if that ever happens. And it has yet to happen. So you should definitely, you can just go to informeddelivery.usps.com. This is for all of our viewers and listeners, and also for both of you if you're interested.
And just signed up.
Excellent. And it may be available in all locations now. When I had originally signed up, it was like where I live was one of the launch locations, but this was a long time ago that I signed up. So absolutely do. I have all of those, like for FedEx and UPS and all of those turned on, which is nice for keeping track of where things are. Can we talk about our awesome friends at Thrifter?
Yes, I think now is a good time to talk about that.
Perfect. So if you haven't heard about Thrifter, then you clearly haven't been listening to the iMore show, because I have loved to tell you all about Thrifter. It's the new way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods by shopping based on value and not hype. So what does that mean exactly? It means that Thrifter is looking for the deals that matter. It's not these fake deals that don't really give you much in the way of discount. It's stuff that was already discounted to those lower prices. These are actual, real, good deals. So if you sign up at thrifter.com, you're going to get thoughtfully selected tech deals from places like Amazon and Best Buy daily. It's all the stuff and none of the fluff. So we're going to go to thrifter.com, and each of us will choose something that we see on there right now.
I have one.
Oh, go ahead. Go first. Yes.
Today is Mario Day, apparently. So you can celebrate Mario Day with 50% off the in-app full purchase of Super Mario Run. It's normally $9.99. You can get it for $5. I already own it, so I don't have to pay for the $5 even. I bought it for $10 when it first came out. So worth it, you guys. It's worth it at $10. If you don't already have Super Mario Run, get it now at $5. You will not regret it. It is such a fun game to play. It is so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've got one too.
All right.
In honor of International Women's Day, the Women of NASA set from Lego is $5 off right now, and it's $20 to build a bunch of really smart, intelligent women from NASA. And I don't know, I'm a big sucker for those, and they're beautiful. You get Nancy Grace Roman and Mark Hamilton and Sally Ride and Mae Jemison. And it's really cute. You see them like building the little Hubble, and one in a classroom and one with a space station or a space shuttle. Just like, that's awesome. I love those little things.
I'm going to have to get that. That's so cool. Mine is going to be, it's a deal. And this is where I really like what Thrifter does. They're not just paying attention to things like, hey, here's a discounted price. They're also looking around for offers and things like that companies provide. And I've taken advantage of this in the past. DirecTV Now, on occasion, will have a deal where you can pay for a subscription to DirecTV Now to give it a go, and you'll get a streaming box of some sort. Well, they had a deal in place when the 4th generation Apple TV came out, to where if you prepaid for 3 months of DirecTV Now, then you could get a 4th generation Apple TV. Then they came out with a deal when the 4K when the Apple TV 4K shipped, that if you prepaid for 4 months, you could get an Apple TV 4K. Well, now they've discounted that deal to where if you pay for 3 months of DirecTV Now service, you can get an Apple TV 4K for free. Folks, go, like, if you're looking to get a streaming box, why not dip your toes in DirecTV Now's streaming service to give it a go and to have like all those extra channels for a period of 3 months? And at the end of that 3 months, guess what? You get to keep your Apple TV 4K. I used that whenever I wanted to add another 4th generation Apple TV, like I said. And I don't have a 4K TV right now, but like as soon as I get one, I'm hoping that this deal is still around, because you can bet your boots that I will take advantage of this deal. I think it's a fantastic thing that they come up with from time to time. So yeah, check that out. They've got a link right there on the site, so you can easily get to that page and sign up for a 3-month account. And that is Thrifter. Again, it's a new way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods. You shop based on value, not hype. And if you sign up at thrifter.com, you'll get all those deals daily from Amazon, Best Buy, DirecTV Now, loads of different places. It's all the stuff, none of the fluff. Thanks so much to Thrifter for sponsoring the iMore Show. What do you got next for us?
All right. Well, sadly, this device is not on Thrifter yet, but it does tie into the privacy stuff that we were talking about. And that's Google Clips came out this week, which is Google's attempt at an always-on video camera that like clips to your body. And when yeah, exactly. When I first heard that, I was like, nope, 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 not interested. And then Google came out and gave a very thorough, clearly defined way of how it all works, which is to say everything is local on the device. It's machine learning, but it's machine learning based on a processor that is built inside of your little camera. It records everything, and then it selectively saves things that it knows that you're passionate about or that you're really interested in. And you can train it. So if you don't want to give it access to, say, your full photo library, you can train it. And when it shows you a bunch of clips from the end of the day, you can be like, I like this. I like this. And then it will get smarter over time and learn your habits. But none of that stuff even gets synced to your phone until you give it the thumbs up. So it all gets stored locally on this little tiny square camera that you wear. And then at the end of the day, you can go through and be like, oh, I really like this clip and I really like this clip and I'm going to save that. And that gets saved either to your Google Photos library or to your hard drive or your phone or however you want it. Friend of the show, Russell Hawley, spoke really, really highly of it. And I trust his judgment on these kinds of things fairly heavily because he has small children, right? Where there's a certain thing where it's like when it's an always on video camera, especially around your kids, like, I don't know, there's certain things that like kids, at a certain age, kids don't have to be on the internet. They don't have to be, put on YouTube and made into YouTube sensations or YouTube mockeries, which is the worst part. There's nothing that makes me more furious than seeing somebody mock a kid on YouTube just for having fun.
Amen.
But that's a side note. Anyway, I think this is really cool. I was really skeptical about an always-on video camera, especially from Google for privacy reasons. But also, I was just like, I don't know if I'd use this. This is kind of like, I don't know. It felt very self-absorbed to me in a weird way. But I also have been using 1 second every day for the last few months, where you record video and then you can pull in 1 second of video for every day of the month. And then it puts together this nice little montage of 1 second from each day.
What?
Yeah. It's fantastic.
It's called 1 second every day. That's the name of it.
I think it's 1 second every day or 1 second a day. But it's such a lovely little app. And it really, I don't know, it's in an age where, my dad is going through and archiving our old High 8 tapes. So he's been sending me clips of like me and my sister as little kids, like doing various things. And I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, this is actually really nice as a memory tool, not even as a like self-absorption, like, let me look at myself. It's just kind of like, yeah, what did I do that day? Like, what kind of adventures did I go on or non-adventures? Like, did I spend all day sleeping? And I also think it's gives you kind of an incentive to do something interesting, where it's like the last thing you want is your Google Clips to film you just sitting in front of your computer for 7 days in a row. So you're like, oh yeah, I gotta go on a walk, or I gotta play with my dogs, or I gotta like do something out of the ordinary or cook some interesting food. And I don't know. I have gotten more and more on the like all the time video train. And I might actually try Google Clips. Like I'm inching towards it. I'm like, this is interesting.
The way that, so you saying what you said about Russell. So I had, whenever the device first shipped, I think Google did not do a very good job of immediately being clear about the privacy concerns and what they were doing to protect that. But I, being the person that I am, went and looked at all of their different stuff that they had available and knew that that stuff was stored locally on the device, but I didn't know it went as far as you have just talked about. And so that makes me like, I'm really bad about like capturing memories, and I am not the like, I'm a bad millennial, I think is what it boils down to. I hate pulling out my phone at restaurants to take photos of food. I will do everything in my power to never do that as much as possible. Like, I just don't like to, I don't know. And oftentimes I'll regret, to a certain extent, like not capturing at least one photo when I went and got to do blank or got to do blank. It just doesn't register on my mind to like pull out my phone, except whenever my dogs are doing something cute. But then it's like, oh, can you please do that again? Because I didn't think to have my phone out already. But I like this idea that I don't have to think about it. And it's looking for good photos and keeping those good photos around. And at the same time, it's not being weird with my data about it. Like, it's all locally stored, including, and it's so funny to hear like Google doing localized AI and machine learning, because that's something that Apple is very, very, very into, and something that they've been sort of, dinged, I guess, about in the past. Is like, if you only did it over server side, then everything would be better. Well, then Google's like, well, we could do it locally too, and it's just fine. I really like that. And it makes me want to check out this product and see sort of what photos it can produce. And yeah, Serenity, that's like, I think that's one of the most difficult things about working from home is like, for me, sometimes I'll look back and it's like, I have literally not left my house to go places for like 4 days. What the heck? This is not, like, it's not good to just be here. And especially while my partner is living in a different city right now for work, it's like, it's just me and the dogs. But oftentimes, because I'm at my desk, like, it's not even the dogs, it's just me, like, hoping that the pigeon outside my window will talk to me. So things like this that sort of encourage you to get up, get active, and also like go do fun things. I think it's a really cool thing all around.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't want Google Clips, because I like to think of myself as a person who goes out and does stuff a lot. But if I started really like filming what I do, I would probably realize that I'm a very boring person. I don't want to know how boring my life actually is.
Like, that's why so many of my friends are like gurus at Snapchat story and Instagram story. And one time I made an Instagram story that was supposed to be like in jest. I was like, you guys don't want to see my Instagram story because this is what it'd be. And then I just like filmed myself typing on the keyboard and then drinking coffee and then like my computer screen. And that's what you'd see day in and day out. So yeah, maybe it would be sort of, but I like the idea that it's sort of, it's throwing down the gauntlet on yourself, and you got to pick up the gauntlet and run with it. I like that idea. That's
true. It might help encourage you to do more when you know that, like, it's sort of like, so I may be the only one here, but when you were a teenager, did you sort of not believe, but sort of picture in your mind that like there was always a camera watching you, like even when you were alone in your bedroom? I don't know.
Oh, sure.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one here. It's not that I thought it was true. It's just for some reason, like my teenage brain just
you thought you were on the Truman Show.
Yeah, no, that was my first thought too. It's like we're all in the Truman Show, basically.
Yes, yeah. So maybe the idea behind this Google Clips is it's your teenage brain reminding you to actually be cool even when no one's looking. So maybe that's
okay, I see. Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, I like that. But only in a healthy way is what I would hope to,
yeah.
from it.
You're not like
Yeah, let me make sure, because like I think that people do enough of the sort of theatrical performance in, you know, still photos or the things that they do put out there, including like social media, just like typing and things like that. So I can't imagine the energy drain that would be involved in trying to fake that while using Google Clips. It's like, I've always got to have my my stage makeup on. I've always got to be, you know. So again, like within a, that's possibly like the, and we don't have Georgia on to talk about it, but the psychological concerns maybe of something like Google Clips. But I don't see, and I'm curious to hear what you think, I don't really see Google Clips as something for other people necessarily. This feels like more of an intimate device. It's the most personal device Google has ever created.
No, it is though. It's for your own memories, and not just that. I think it's a way to, it's hard to say in the digital universe, right? But I think it's a way to potentially pass on memories to future generations as well. Like I love looking at photos of my parents when they're younger and like they lived in Chicago for a little while. And it's like, I only have 4 or 5 photos. I have photos of them like holding tiny little kittens that I would know as like crotchety old cats. And it's cool to be like, hey, I know that cat. Like, I know those people. Oh my God, there's my dad in corduroy jeans standing next to a Porsche. Like, some of these things just like, they make you, they touch you in the feels. So to use the millennial speak.
Well, and that, like, that's been, again, one of my, like, I was lucky, I guess, or I think we all are sort of in the generational space, be it, you know, multiple generations or not. Like we're in the generational space where capturing memories in video and to an extent in photos, especially personally, like not having to use disposable cameras and things like that, was still a novelty. And so like my parents have photo books upon photo books of us as kids and growing up and you know, all through time. And for the end of my generation and the next generation, so much of the stuff that they capture is ephemeral. And I like it does concern me. Like you may have your ultra primmed and you know, pumped photos of your food that you had, like your sushi that you had. But what about those fun sort of candid shots that we used to take whenever we were younger, or our parents took of us, and the ones that actually show like real life and we can tie our memories to? Because the other one just looks like an advertisement for a restaurant and is not the same as like being able to look back on your past and, oh, I'll see right there. I have one nearby too.
I bought a Polaroid instant camera. I don't have the exact name of it right now. It's the I-type. I had so much, look, that is someone literally photobombing for reals, a picture. That was my favorite thing. And I had so much fun taking these pictures, and they turn out terrible because I don't get the opportunity to like plan it out ahead of time and know exactly. Everything's not posed and perfect and, oh, it didn't work, I'm going to take another one. I just like, this is it. The picture comes out the way it comes out, and then you move on. And it's a really kind of liberating to not know what you're getting until after it's already done. And Polaroid film is so expensive that I'm not going to retake a shot if
no, exactly.
Well,
and maybe that's the beauty of something like Clips too, is I think what you said is really smart, Micah, where it's, you know, you don't want to ruin a moment. If you're having a nice, you know, if you're having an anniversary dinner with, you know, with your significant other, the last thing you want to do is like pull out your phone and be like, all right, let's interrupt our scintillating conversation and take a selfie together. And I'm like, it just, yeah, I don't love that part. I don't love the fact that like, if I'm touring freaking JPL, which I did a few years ago, like I did take some panoramas of that, but I didn't take a whole lot of photos because I was just like, I don't feel comfortable being like, I'm going to sneak up to the Mars rover and be like, and now I'm kind of sad that I don't have those memories, you know, I have them in here, but seeing, you know, hearing my dad and my parents talk about like certain things that they just don't remember anymore. I'm like, how long before those kinds of things go off into the mist of time? And something that's just like subtly clipped on your jacket and just being like, yeah, let's have dinner. And then if we have like, maybe I capture a 3-second video of, my husband laughing. And it's like that 3-second video is like, that's more important than anything else. Cause then it's natural. It's cute. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, and you really need to stop trying to convince me to buy technology.
I know you're actually very good.
Just you wait.
The HomePod, like that, your thing was the reason why I ended up getting it. But just to touch on that, I got to there's a new why can't I speak words right now? There's an aquarium in the town that I live in and in the city that I live in that just got finished recently, and it's like got all these incredible ratings. It's super, super cool, and I finally got to check it out a couple weeks ago. Anyway, and I was there with my partner and with our friend who lives in town, and this is not a slight to them. It's just like how we experience things differently, but they both had their phones out and were like Snapchatting and taking things of all the different fish. And as we were going through, and one of the things I noticed is they kept getting sort of overwhelmed and also running into things from time to time. And the whole time, like I've got my hands in my pockets, just like sort of living in the wonder of it and being able to experience it. And later on, like I got to look at their photos and see them that way. And that was really nice, but I'd love to have that middle ground where if I could have photos or videos that are being taken while I just get to do my thing, that'd be so great, because I got to pet 2 stingrays and they snuggled my hand. Like they came up and like nuzzled me, and I'm like, this is so wow, I didn't know that stingrays could do that. And I would love to have video of that, but like I wasn't going to have my hand in a tank of scary fish while also like holding my phone over it. And like, then the thing runs off with my phone, which would be a story in and of itself. So maybe I should have let that happen. But my point is like, I want to be able to like relive some of that. And I think like clips could be a great thing for that. Cause, and this is one last thing to touch on, almost everybody who had their phones out missed they had a bald eagle, a real live bald eagle, and that big bad boy was just sitting there all regal, like very, very still. And it's like you walked across this bridge and it was over here, like in its little birdie cage area. And I watched so many people miss that. Then the whole time I'm just like enjoying watching this majestic creature just sort of like stalk everybody. And they're all just walking past because it's so stone still that like you don't see it. And that was one of those moments where I was like, I'm feeling a little bit prideful about having not taken my phone out one time since we've gotten here. And I only took it out once because my grandma is so in love with seahorses. So I had to capture some video of seahorses and send to her. But other than that, I kept my phone in my pocket and I was like, you know what? Today I feel good about not being the person that has my phone out. But I love the idea of having something I could clip on. It's like, all right, I get to look at this later again and experience it sort of in 2 different ways.
Yeah, just plug and go. Well, we're almost out of time, so I want to really quickly hit up a couple quick things. There were new Studio Pod rumors. I think let's just do a quick lightning round of like, if Apple made over-ear headphones a la AirPods, would you buy them? For me, they already do that. They're called Beats Studios. I don't love them they're nice, but I don't love them as much as I love my QC35s. So I'm like, if you can make a better headphone than the QC35, then I would consider it. Otherwise, What about you, Lori?
I mostly agree for slightly different reasons. I think I've mentioned before, my AirPods, I don't take them out very often to use them. So what's the difference between over the ear can pods and what I'm using right now? I don't see myself, though I didn't see myself getting the AirPods, and I did, but it doesn't seem like that big of a technological advancement for Apple to make over the ear headphones, especially since Beats is already making them. It seems like it would be Beats with an Apple logo instead of a Beats logo. So,
yeah. What do you think, Micah?
I also have to caution against, I was just talking to Joe Steele on the podcast that he and I do together on Helpful Suggestions, because on many occasions on that show, I have said, I'm not going to get blank. I don't need AirPods. I don't need a HomePod. I don't want those things. And every time I've had to eat my words. So I'm not saying that anymore. I always end up getting convinced that, like, even if it's just to try it and experience it, I end up getting it. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on whether or not this is something that I'd be interested in. But like on its face, I have had to come to the like realization that most of the time when I'm listening to audio, I'm either listening to it through the speakers on this little phone here that I take around with me, or through some external speaker that's in my house, including the HomePod. And I don't like to have things over my ears as much as possible because it's like it's too warm. And so I have the you probably know the exact model number, Serenity. It's the wired in-ear
The 25s
noise,
or the 15s.
QC15s, which I love those for the noise canceling, and like they go into my ear instead of over my ear. And I use those like if I'm ever on an airplane, and also like when I'm vacuuming or something like that, like doing house chores, they're great for. But most of the time, I don't have anyone to worry about sort of disturbing by having audio playing out loud. So I just do that instead. So I think this is a cool product, but I do agree, like, how will Apple differentiate between this and their Beats line in stores and elsewhere? Like, what's going to draw people to this particular display as opposed to going over to the Beats display that offers a lot more color and fun and variation? Like, who are these going to be for? So it'll be interesting to see their marketing on this. And maybe we'll get another cool stretchy FKA Twigs video.
Maybe we'll see. Yeah, so the other thing that I wanted to highlight is that Apple released its yearly supplier responsibility report, and it is prettier than ever because one thing I will say about Apple is that when they release numbers, it's not just like an impenetrable PDF. They take the same amount of care to release a supplier responsibility report than they do in their packaging. So everything is designed and has custom icon. It's just a really lovely dip into how Apple is changing their supply chain, as well as making changes to the retail stores. Some of the big highlights that they put in this year's report were they're doing new trainings to help people become product line leads on the manufacturing side. A lot of vocational side training. They're also doing what I thought was really cool is they have a goal to get 1 million women trained by 2020 to be healthcare professionals. So basically taking charge of their own healthcare and taking charge of like women's healthcare and more preventative healthcare for the companies and for the, for the factories that are going on. And for this, I know for me, like, as I see Apple really take more of an investment in healthcare and in how they're going to take care of themselves. Like we saw the report a few weeks back about setting up Apple Park so that all corporate employees are going to basically have like custom private insurance and doctors and regular preventative visits without all the costs that normally accompanies. Like these kinds of things, I start to really wonder. I'm like, Apple, are you really taking the charge of lifestyle tech like to the next level and being like, not just are we, we are slowly but surely like dipping our toes into the world of being a health company, which
I would rather have like really excellent healthcare than a ping pong table in the break room.
Amen.
Yeah, 100%.
And speaking of that, just really quick to touch on the health thing. A while back, we had talked on the show about the updates to the health app and health records. And I had complained pretty heavily about the fact that I couldn't import my own health records into the app anymore. And like, that was one of my favorite features. They have since re-added that feature, and all my clinical documents are now available in the health records app. But on top of that, I've been checking almost every day to see what hospitals and health records companies are being part of the app. They're adding new ones all the time. And so I think that they're really gearing up for, whenever they ship out the next iOS 11 version to have as many as possible. So really cool that they are on top of it and that they're getting plugged in with all of these different things. And then also allowing you to do it yourself if you so choose.
Yeah, agreed. So it's some really cool stuff. Definitely read the supplier responsibility report if you have a spare second and you're interested in how Apple is changing its environmental footprint and all of that. Their diversity report should be out later this year as well, and I'm really interested to see how that's changing. To close out the show, let's talk about our happy fun things of the week. We got to figure out a better name for that than answer. I'm gonna start because I was originally okay. So I'm gonna talk about two things because I'm a horrible person. One, I wanted to highlight the new update to Halide, which is a manual camera app that we love. Now Halide has added depth API. So if you have an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 8 or 8 Plus or 7 or 7 Plus, you can take depth photos with Halide, which is pretty cool, and their rendering engine is pretty quick. But the really neat thing, and granted is a little bit wacky, is that you can, once you've taken that photo, enter AR mode and put that photo on a wall or pretty much anywhere in space. And then you can proceed to walk around it and you can see the exploded depth map, which is pretty rad.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I haven't tried the new features yet. It seems a little intimidating to me, but it sounds like you've done it in it. That's super cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is awesome. Everybody should get Halide if you want to shoot manually with your camera because it's fantastic. The second thing is what I mentioned last week. I mentioned wanting an Ember. I got an Ember. And it's magical. Micah, do you know what this is?
No, but I'm like already sold because you're showing me a mug.
Yeah. So this is a smart mug. I saw it at a Starbucks last week as I was telling Lori, and I was like, this is interesting. So what this does is it pairs with a companion app to set the temperature and hold the temperature to what you want it. Yeah. So
what's it called?
Ember. EMBER. So this lovely thing, you take it off of its it's not inductive charging, sadly, it's just coil charging. But you take it off its base and it knows when it's empty or full. Then you pour some water into it or coffee or latte or whatever. And not only will it properly keep the temperature. So for instance, I was drinking tea, so it kept it at cool 132 degrees the entirety of the podcast. And it was great. But the best thing, quite honestly, is that it sends you a push notification when your tea has reached the level that you want it to.
Oh my God.
So you don't burn yourself.
I am the worst. I'm such a consumerist. This is so stupid, but I'm literally tearing up a little bit because this is so cool. And I hate me for it, but it's so cool.
Honest, if anybody who works at a desk, anybody who works from home, it's just kind of like we all know the terror and the sadness of pouring ourselves a cup of tea or coffee and then having it slowly wither into super cold disgustingness. And let me tell you,
to microwave coffee because it's horrible when it's microwaved.
Microwave tea is awful too. So the fact that I drank my tea during the show because I knew that every sip I took was going to be perfect, and it was.
Yeah.
So I've been trying so hard to not buy this mug. I don't think I can resist anymore.
I need this.
It's pretty great. The one thing I will say is that its battery is not amazing. Like it's down to, I think, 30% after the show. So you kind of need, like, you have one cup and then you need to dock it for a little while you're making your next cup.
How long does the charge take?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I have a question too.
Yeah. I don't know, actually. I think it'll full charge in under an hour. I'll have to test this as part of I'm going to review it on iMore, so I still haven't done the nitty gritty. But yeah, I'll have to check on that. Micah, what was your question?
What I thought is that it worked sort of like those candle warmy things where you have to set it on the base and that's when it starts warming it. So you don't even have to have it.
No, it's not on a base. There's a little battery.
It's warming like as long as it's. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, question 2. If you do plan on having it like in one location most of the time, can
just leave it on the base? Yeah.
Charge at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
The one thing I would caution on that is, as you can see, again, it's coil charging, so you don't want water in between this and the. So just like as long as you don't spill it, it should be fine. But just and it's ceramic, so it's easily cleanable, which is nice.
And the base, the charging base, looks like a little saucer.
It does. It looks like it's a little cup. Yeah, I'm totally gonna move the chart. Actually, I should probably move the charging base inside here because it's in my kitchen right now, and I'm like, this is silly. I'm gonna use it at my desk.
I'm getting this. This is so cool.
And they also have a travel mug version, which I'm like starting to eye. Like, I'm totally hooked. Anyway, let's wrap this up pretty quickly. Lori, what is your favorite thing of the week?
So Nintendo just announced a couple of days ago in relation to the anniversary of Nintendo Switch, and also because it came out at the same time, the anniversary of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. They, in Japan exclusively so far, will be releasing a 211-track soundtrack for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. For about $65. I think there's the special edition is $65 and the not special edition is like $45. It's so far only announced in Japan, but I almost signed up for the Japanese Amazon store so that I could try to get it. But I'm going to hold out because I'm hoping that there'll be a US version at some point. So I'm really excited about the Breath of the Wild soundtrack. Calms me down and relaxes me. If you get a chance to listen to any of the Breath of the Wild songs on whatever streaming service you're listening to, give it a try because they're calming and relaxing and comfortable, and they make you just sort of feel like you're, wandering around in a nice dewy meadow or something like that. So that was my exciting happy of the week.
I need to play Breath of the Wild. I don't have a Switch yet. I'm starting to think about it. Micah, what is yours?
Mine is an awesome app. I recently was diagnosed, I guess is the term, with gluten sensitivity. So I've had to clear wheat out of my diet, and I already am like really bad about eating in general. Like I'm just a bad eater. I forget that eating needs to happen, and then my body is like, "You're the worst, man." And so my go-to all the time was I just had a big thing of the powdered peanut butter that they sell, and because it's by like a quick tip that is unrelated, but peanut butter is not that great for you because there's a lot of fat, a lot of saturated fat, a lot of fat in peanut butter. However, they sell this stuff called PB2, and it comes in different brands, but I like the PB2 brand, where it is it's powdered peanuts that you mix with water, and because it's powdered and you only have to mix it with water, they don't have to put in that extra oil to make the creamy peanut butter. You're making it at home, so it cuts down on the fat content by a lot, but you still get a bunch of protein with it. So my favorite thing to do before I knew that it was hurting me was to just make up some peanut butter really quick, put it on bread. Like you could have it with cinnamon, I could put some bananas on it, and it was like my stomach's getting angry at me, now's a good time to put something into it kind of thing. Well, anyway, point is, when I found out that I had a gluten sensitivity and I was shoveling bread into my mouth all the time, and that's why I was having all of these like indigestion issues and like not getting the nutrients in my body that I needed or whatever, I was looking at different ways to go toward my gluten-free diet. And luckily I love rice cakes as well. So that took care of the whole peanut butter on some sort of delivery device problem. But whenever it came to wanting to have like real meals and experiment with things, I was looking online for apps that offered like gluten-free options and downloaded a few. And the one that I stuck with is an app called Yumly. It's not just for gluten-free folks, but you get to put in your dietary preferences whenever you set up an account. And from there, it starts to recommend recipes for you based on what's popular and based on your, needs. But what's really cool is they have it divided into different categories. And this isn't showing the different categories, but just showing the beautiful layout of the app. But they have it divided into categories for your, your main meal, your desserts, your snacks, different things like that. And you can go through and add those to a list of like, this is the meal that I want to make tonight. And then automatically generate a shopping list for you. And you can check off things that you already have in your cabinets and just get the things that you don't have. It's very easy, of course, to then go and find the ingredients. It tells you how long it's going to take. One of the cool features is integrated. There you go. It's integrated with the Apple Health app. So you can automatically pop in like, hey, I had this meal. So here's all of the carbs that was in it, all of the calories that were in it, et cetera, et cetera. It's a full featured app. And one of the features that Serenity thought was really cool, and I think many people would like, is sometimes we open our cabinet and it's like, it doesn't seem like there's something there, but you can sense the potential. You could pop in the stuff that you have in your cabinet and it will tell you what meals you can make with what you have. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention about it is a really cool recipe plan or meal planning feature that helps you sort of like know when you need to get groceries for the different meals that you want to have throughout the week. So obviously, like if you buy spinach, you don't want to buy that 2 weeks in advance because it's probably going to get a little gross and slimy after a while. So it's like, hey, you should buy this then so that you could make it. So it's called Yumly. Definitely worth checking out for all of the features that are packed in. And particularly if you have any sort of recipe, or not recipe, but ingredient intolerances like I have been blessed with. So check it out.
It
is really cool. I'm going to download that right now.
Yeah, I actually use Yumly on a regular basis. It's a really great app. They cover everything.
I don't know about this.
It's also,
you should try it.
App is equally awesome. Like I like to use that whenever I'm actually cooking because I can see more on the screen.
And the interface is gorgeous. It's probably the best looking recipe app.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it looks it. All right. Well, that is the end of the iMore show for this week. We are out of time. But before we go, we want to thank our lovely friends at Thrifter. Thank you for sponsoring the show and keeping us rolling. Thank you to all of you who are out there listening. And last but certainly not least, in fact, far from least, let's thank our editor, Jim Metzendorf, who makes this thing into a listenable condition.
Hearts for Jim.
So many hearts for Jim. And he's probably listening to this right now and just like hiding. But thank you, Jim. From all of us here at the iMore Show, you can find us, of course, on iMore.com. You can find the iMore Show itself at iMore. You can find me at Saturn. You can find Lori Gill at Appaholic. You can find Micah at Micah Sargent. And we are on pretty much all of the social things except for Snapchat. I don't think any of us is on Snapchat or Instagram stories very much.
Yeah, it's there, but I don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's just living there up in the shelf. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And until next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. I like that Harmon.